Have you ever played an Assassin's Creed game and noticed how quickly the rooftops start to feel like the real path through the city? You can try playing the game by running through the streets for a while, but sooner or later you somehow keep ending up on the rooftops. So, how do Assassin's Creed games trick the player towards using parkour so consistently? Welcome to Game Design Dimension. Here, we break down the game design ideas and decisions that shape how games feel to play. And today, we're looking at how Assassin's Creed games encourage players to use parkour through level design and environmental cues. Parkour is central to Assassin's Creed games. It is a core part of the player fantasy. The player can climb, jump, and move across the environment with a lot of freedom, and the world keeps finding ways to make that freedom feel necessary and rewarding. Rooftops usually give the player easier movement through the streets, longer sightlines across the city, stronger approach options into a hideout, and a better way out when surrounded by enemies. After several of these moments, parkour starts feeling like the more effective way of moving through the game. The main reason parkour works well at all is because getting into parkour takes very little effort. Cities are filled with small objects that invite the player towards the rooftops. Objects like a tilted cart, a low ledge, a stack of crates, a slanted roof, or a window frame are everywhere. The environment places these starter objects right in front of the player. This convenience matters a lot in level design. Climbing begins so easily that the player starts slipping into parkour almost by habit. Being on the rooftops also gives the player a better read on the world. Street level is crowded with several obstructions. Buildings and crowds break sightlines, and objectives are usually harder to judge from below. Once the player gets above the layer of obstructions, the view opens up. Objectives become easier to locate, and patrol patterns become easier to read. This perspective gives the player more control over their next move. Instead of simply running towards a destination, they can read the space first and then decide how they want to enter it. Once the player reaches the rooftops, the next job is keeping the movement alive. Here, spacing and parkour options do a lot of work. Buildings are usually close enough together that the player can keep moving across the city without constantly dropping back to the street. The gaps feel manageable, and every jump to the next rooftop builds player momentum. Parkour options keep the player agency active, and rhythm continues developing as one action naturally rolls into the next. This flow is a huge part of the game's appeal. By maintaining momentum, the game rewards the player for staying in the parkour system. Another big reason parkour becomes natural is that the city keeps drawing the player's attention upwards. As the player explores, useful spaces keep appearing above eye level. Routes connect across rooftops, openings reveal clean paths, and rewards like chests or collectibles often sit in places that make more sense to reach by climbing. Over time, the player stops treating the city like a flat surface and starts reading it as a layered space. These games essentially provide several options for the player to chart their own path to the next objective. They shape their own route through the city as they move. This makes traversal feel like a strong form of player expression. Because the system is flexible, the way you move reflects your skill and style in the game. Taking the ground path has its own added pressure. The street level movement usually feels more exposed and easier for enemies to interrupt. Guards can control the front of an objective location, and narrow streets can limit how freely the player can move. This is especially clear during escape sequences. When a chase starts on the streets get crowded very quickly. Enemies block narrow streets and make running through them very difficult. The rooftops are the only option. So, Assassin's Creed encourages parkour by building a world where vertical movement keeps rewarding the player constantly. The climb starts easily, the rooftops hold movement together, high ground makes the city easier to read, and rewards become easier to access. These patterns repeat across exploration, infiltration, and escape sequences. Eventually, this shapes up the player's playstyle. By the time the player has spent a few hours in the game, parkour already feels like second nature. This is why parkour becomes such a defining part of the Assassin's Creed experience. Thanks for watching Game Design Dimension. If you found this breakdown useful, consider subscribing for more deep dives into game design. I'll see you in the next one.